Call for cost information and conditions, equal housing lender license in all 50 states and MLS consumeraccess.org number 3030. Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville. It's a fancy talking about pot.
That's right. This is AM 1400, KBFT, the voice for Dutch. I'm Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth, and joining me now is Sudden Sam Clovis. How you doing, Sam? I'm great. Remember, I don't know if you're a baseball fan or not, but there used to be a great pitcher for the Cleveland Indians called Sudden Sam McDowell. Oh, he was. And the problem with Sudden Sam was you never knew if he was sober or not. So that's exactly the point. You get a man that throws that hard, and nobody knows where the ball is going. Yeah, we're going to put up a net behind the backstop at the very least. Anyway, Sam Clovis, I'm sorry, go right ahead. So there were some great ball players back in those days. Real characters, Bo Malinsky and Dean Chance. Yeah, I could go on and on and on. Sam Clovis has a resume as long and impressive. Well, let me put it this way. It's so long and so impressive that it beats about 200 resumes of the woke crowd, at least, probably more. But Sam's a former Air Force pilot. You have a master's degree in business, is that it? But the woke work overnight at Hardee's. Is that a new federal wage or a state wage? You are such a Republican, Sam. By the way, Sam Clovis worked very briefly in the Trump administration. You were hounded from office. What was that all about, Sam?
Over the Russia.
Or no evidence was found of wrongdoing? Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They did. I mean, that's the woke culture in a nutshell, right there. A lot of heat, a lot of fire, but when you get past all that, they got nothing. It's as shallow and childish a philosophy as you can find in history. That's all. This is my truth, and I must scream my head off about my truth. No, the truth is verifiable, scientifically true. Everything else that you say is just, well, you don't have anything to say, really. But other... yeah, you believe that? Yeah. Oh, I, well, no one imagined that our academic leaders and politicians were such cowards. I mean, it's just been shameful to watch. If you want to talk, and the word shameful is way overused, but let me tell you, the way academic leaders and liberal politicians have caved and acquiesced to these ridiculous, childish philosophies and and statements is because they're cowards. It's just awful to see. It's dispiriting to see people of some accomplishment and intelligence. They are intelligent enough to know that what the young woke people are talking about is such childish nonsense, but they can't admit it. Oh, tell me about it. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Our guest is Sam Clovis. Again, I don't think he needs any introduction, but you're a student of history. That's the first time I met you. You were here in Fort Dodge out to Iowa Central, and you were talking about a brief history of the United States. Uh, uh, Stalinism in the 30s, and Robert W. Conquest wrote a lot of great history on that period that for some reason isn't taught now as we move further into multicultural studies. But you may have heard the name Pavel Morozov in history. Now, Pavel Morozov, according to legend, was a 13-year-old boy in Stalinist Russia. And at the time, Stalinism dictated that if anyone criticized the state or him personally, they must be held accountable. And accountable meant execution. Stalinism and the woke Bolsheviks went from town to town, city to city, farm to farm, to ask if anybody had been disloyal. And if they needed to be taken away, never to be seen again. Pavel Morozov was a 13-year-old boy, and none of this has ever been absolutely proven, but the Russians, the Stalinists, picked it up and went with it. Pavel was a 13-year-old boy, according to the Stalinists, who overheard his parents complaining about collectivization of farms and communism and Stalin in general. They were talking as husband and wife do. Pavel apparently overheard this, went to Stalinist authorities. His parents were arrested and executed in short order. Now, I'm not quite finished. The young man's relatives were so outraged by this, apparently they took him to the forest and killed him, killed the young boy. Now, the Soviet and Stalinist, not Soviet, but Russian and Stalinist authorities started teaching Pavlik's example in schools, and he was held up as a role model, and he was held up almost as a sacred totem of some kind. There were pictures of him in classrooms all over Stalinist Russia with a little memorial underneath, telling the students and the young people and anyone that wanted to look that this young boy had done the right thing, and he was punished for it by what? By who? Well, counter-revolutionaries and conservatives, Sam. So I guess you and I are pretty lucky that we haven't been executed. Okay. Oh, no. Certainly. Oh, yeah. We don't want to educate people to what? To tell them to think independently, to think critically? Absolutely not. Yeah. Well, we can do what we've always done in the past. We can fight them. They're wrong and we're right. We have the proven answer to how to live well. We have the history, we have the facts, science and morality, and God Almighty are on our side, so bring these people on. They've got nothing. Mm-hmm. The better journalist. By the way, Sam and I talked about Pavel Morozov and the unusual cult that the Stalinist authorities formed around him. There's a great book out that I read called The Whisperers. Since you're not watching a lot of TV or any of those other things, The Whisperers was out a few years ago, and the author is Orlando Figes. You'd be the type of guy to read this. It's not a popular historical novelist type read. It's more of an academic work. So there's a difference in reading a novel. There's a difference in reading somebody like H.W. Brands, who I think is a great author, but he writes in a novelist style. This is more of an academic, dig down deep into the facts type of history. And by the way, let me tell you again, I think that H.W. Brands' books are great. He's written practically on every part of history. Perhaps you don't know who I'm talking about, but. Oh, you went back to those. That's great. Hey, nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, nothing wrong with that, man. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Yeah, Sam Clovis is our guest. This is AM 1400 KBFT, the voice for Dodge. Sam, we're going to have to take a news break about 8 minutes. Would you please call us back? It's a great conversation. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, we'll be back with Sam Clovis. Hey, it's 3:29. The news. Yes, the news. Populism. Really, you look at the resume of some of the woke culture, some of the people who have been arrested or involved in violent incidents. I mean, they're fast food workers. I mean, this is a vanguard of the revolution. This isn't the intellectual classes represented by college students in the 1960s protesting the war. This is a bunch of losers screaming about things they have very little understanding of. They're thank you, useful idiots is exactly right. Lenin used. You bet. Fine homes too. Mine isn't either. It's always about the money, Sam. It's always about the money. Why you want to know why? Because we're white men. White people can't talk about race and white people can't talk about even the. I mean, you got to be careful. They're talking about nationalist feelings and describing nationalism. I talked to our old friend Congressman Steve King the other day. Remember what happened to him? He was forced out of office for saying white nationalism. Now, why he went to the New York Times with that, I have, he wanted to show he wasn't afraid of those bozos, and they got him, which is too bad. But Randy Feaster's going to do a good job, I think. But the point again is, you can't say anything. You can't say anything because you're a white person. You need to sit down, shut up, and listen because they've got something to say. And I've been listening very carefully for a couple of years now, Sam. They got nothing to say, really. They got nothing. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. Follow my example. I'm a dishwasher. I don't know. Geez. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think so too. But I think they're moving in the direction of Stalinism with the story of Pavlik Morozov that I've been telling all week, really. And I invite anyone to look that up on Wiki or buy the book. And by the way, I don't know who Orlando Figes, the author, is, but it's anything by Robert W. Conquest in relationship to the Stalinist period and the Soviet Union in general is worth a read. And you need to compare it to events in our country today and see if there's a correlation, because there is. There is. If a 13-year-old were reported killed in some demonstration, we'd have a shrine somewhere and all over the place to that young man. He may have been out there at 2 o'clock in the morning burning a building down and got caught up in the fire, but he's still a martyr for the cause. That's the whole point. We have to have martyrs, Sam. Martyrs. Die for his, that's right. Mm-hmm. I'd be one of them. Yeah, it would be. It do a lot of silliness. Well, the worst thing, and this is a war now. This is almost a cliche now. The worst thing that anyone can do. The only way to defeat these people if a good man or woman stands up and speaks. The worst thing that can happen is when a good man does nothing or a good woman does nothing. We have too many people on the sidelines hoping this is just a fad, it'll go away. No, it's a fight, and we need to man up and woman up, both. I mean, a small and unaccomplished well, their education came from social media. I mean, there's a source for you, Facebook, for example, that still won't allow Trump there, but they do believe in free speech. Jeez. God. And then, yeah, that's right. Here we are, here we are, military veterans. I served overseas, and I've overcome severe obstacles in my life, and I'm in a comfortable place now. So all of a sudden, I'm the evil white man. I mean, I don't have any other identity. I'm just some white guy. I mean, that's the thing. Stalin and his people wanted to strip you of your identity to make you an instrument of the state. That's exactly, and I've never said this in almost 13 years on the radio. That's what's happening right now in our communities across the country, is that they are trying to strip you of your identity. What else is the trans movement about? Oh, a guy who suddenly wakes up one morning, gets a bunch of hormone shots, and maybe has a surgery, he's now a woman. Well, let's put him in and you ought to see some of these so-called women in a high school wrestling match with girls. I have a granddaughter that likes to wrestle. I do not want her to wrestle a male, because that's what he is. Thinks. That's right. What do you think of that? We should have talked about that. What do you think about Liz Cheney losing her position? Why? Well, President Trump did have a little trouble with the truth on occasion, and that's what Liz Cheney was talking about loud. So, and that, it seems like the Republican Party now is sanctifying a man who will repeatedly lie to achieve his own ends. That's not the direction, or that's not the image the Republican Party or any party should want. All right. Well, the Democratic Party embraced Bill Clinton for his lies. And by the way, his, I think, were, and I'll never forgive Bill Clinton for his presidency. I thought he was a disaster for the very people he claimed to try to help. He was a disaster for the working people across the country, and he still is. But Bill Clinton, the feminist president, by his example, and I'm not talking about just Monica Lewinsky. He didn't run in '88 because he was involved with another woman. His affairs and his cheap sexual exploitation of women are legendary. He's a hero to the Democrats. So you may have a point there. Well, a few of the well, I think that's probably correct. And by the way, Pope John II was made a saint in the last few years, and that was kind of rushed through. I think if we knew the entire history of Pope John II and his involvement in cover-ups of sexual predator priests, he didn't deserve the title of saint. I know he did a lot of great things. He was a noble man in a lot of ways, but you want to talk about a flawed man? Wow. Pope John Paul was, and I know a lot of Catholics in town and over by Sioux City where you're at. They don't like me here. They don't want me to say things like that. But I believe that I believe the truth is cleansing, Sam. I'm still that much of an. All right, Sam. We'll talk to you next week at this time if we can. Thank you, sir. All right. 4 o'clock, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Hi, this is Leslie Segretti.
And I'm Tom Kreitler, and you can hear the Money Pit every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
A message to parents from the president, Lisa Brady.
perspective of a part-time job.
That's right on the mayor of Vanville, but of course I'm outranked by Supervisor Bob Thode. How you doing, Bob?
Doing great, and yourself?
I'm doing all right. Haven't seen you in such a long time. I was off work all that time, so it's great to see getting back in the habit of talking with people on the air. And, I mean, if I was retired, I'd still be sitting around talking to somebody. Might as well be you.
That you'd be in a coffee shop instead of sitting here.
Well, I know of several groups, morning and afternoon, that you can go out to Hy-Vee, or you can go out to J Mars, or over here to TC Mays, or wherever, and there's folks over there in their little groups. You know?
And they're solving all the world's problems.
Oh
aren't they?
yeah, I solved them all last week. I don't know why we still have them.
I thought you were trying to solve them on the radio just before I came on. I listened to that for a little bit. And thought,
Sam Clovis.
Oh my God, what's he up to now?
Sam and I get a little conservative, I'll tell you. I know you're a Democrat, which is okay. Really, I don't. Bob, I think everybody's entitled to a point of view. I do.
Oh, definitely.
I don't take Nikki Conrad, Supervisor Conrad, her and I don't see eye to eye on anything. I said this on the WHO broadcast, but she came over and helped me quite a bit when I was sick with COVID and brought food over the house and things like that. I got a text from her yesterday just asking how I was doing. I mean, we feel as far as moral and political events are the exact opposite. But she's still a good human being, and I hope
she's great. Yeah. In fact, her great uncle passed away, and she was real good. I was real good friends with Ed Swallowson.
Oh, that's
and
her
their
great
whole
uncle.
family. Yep, that's the great uncle, and she called me right away. It was Monday night. Informed me of it, and and I was very appreciative of that. They'd been locked down in the Marion home, and they very, there's very limited access for just about everybody there for the longest time. So.
Yeah, it's a little closer to that mic there, Robert. I heard you when you were Fort Dodge police captain talk louder than that. Slow down!
I've been through sensitivity training, so
you're a big teddy bear now?
There we go.
All right. Okay, I didn't know that happened, but that's right. No, really, I don't. People can advocate for whatever position.
Oh, yeah.
I don't. What are we doing over at the county that we should know about?
Well, in the process, Sheriff Fleener, he's doing a great job. He's trying to get the security upgraded there in the courthouse and that. They're working on the north end of the building now to get that roof squared away. So hopefully,
Your call 1046.
before.
1046.
I gotta turn that doggone thing off. Sometime.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. I didn't come in here to listen. Please stand for crying out loud. So. But they'll get that roof done, hopefully June, July. Hope majority of that project will be taken care of.
Okay.
Between the wind, the rain, the snow, and everything else, that kind of slows projects like that down. But
yeah,
it's looking real good, and they're a very qualified company. So I think we're going to be very, very happy with the end result. So.
I talked to some of the other supervisors when we were talking about the need to do something about our courthouse. And I thought, frankly, that perhaps a new courthouse somewhere was the way to go. It'd be easier, less expensive, all those things. But boy, I was shot down. I went down like a flaming biplane in World War I.
Yeah, the courthouse is the landmark for this area, and
that's the way you see it.
Yeah, and that's majority of people saw it that way. Down on Market on Central one evening, we were down there to get everybody's opinions of it, and there was probably out of the 120, 130 people that came through there, probably 3 or 4 were against us doing anything with the building. The rest of us were agreed that we'd go halfway, and then we had a few people that want us to replace all the copper on that clock, which was going to cost another $5 million. And I just,
whoa!
I don't know if we want to get that crazy, but yeah, copper's expensive.
I guess it is.
And especially when you have to send it off to France to get it all stamped out. So.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh man, we don't have any place in the United States.
Evidently, not
Well,
for that type of.
Probably wouldn't be that much cheaper anyway, I suppose.
Yeah, and it got shipped over and got shipped back, and no, it's looking good over there. So
Okay, all right.
and we're doing it in such a way as where we're not going to have to worry about it in ours or our kids' lifetime. So
Okay, well, that's a good thing. Yeah.
that was one of the things we all sat back and talked about is if we're going to put this kind of an investment in this thing, we don't want to have to turn around 25 years from now and redo the whole thing. So
That'll drive you
I think
crazy.
there's about a 50-year guarantee on everything the way it is, and then we went the extra to make sure that there was some type of plastic or whatever put inside to make sure that the moisture didn't get in on the moving parts and that. So yeah,
Is the clock going to work again?
clock is working.
Is it working right now?
The bell, didn't you hear the bell ringing it on top of the hour every day?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
And I just
Top of
live
the
over
hour.
on 4th Avenue. I just live over by North Junior High.
Well, if you quit talking so much, you might hear the bell.
Well, I live alone. Maybe I was talking to
For
myself.
obvious reasons, but still, if you quit talking to yourself, you could hear the bell.
All right, and that's at 7 in the morning, 12, and
Every hour on the hour.
every hour on the hour.
Yeah.
Well, I could have gone deaf somehow, I suppose. In addition
No,
to
that's a
everything else.
possibility, but I have a feeling that take those earmuffs off and they'll be able to hear you.
County Supervisor Bob Thode is our guest. By the way, if you'd like to ask the supervisor a question, call now 955-1400. 955-1400. What's the masking policy in Webster County now? We don't have a masking policy anymore.
That's correct. It's the businesses can enforce whatever they want. There's still basically inside the building, we want you to go by what the CDC came out with, which is do the social distancing. However,
Inside the building, you're talking about the courthouse?
our courthouse, yes, and the third floor, you have to have a mask on our third floor, and that was mandated by the Iowa Supreme Court for all the courtrooms. And the clerk's office, anything to do with the judicial system, they're still requiring a mask.
I'm still in favor of abolishing Supreme Courts, but nobody listened to me there either.
If it doesn't stop you from talking.
No, it does. You gotta. It takes a long time to convince some people that I'm right. Yeah, well, okay, that's good. Bob, I got masks in my cars. I have two vehicles. I got 3-4 masks in either one of them. If I go to the grocery store, I go over here to Daniel Pharmacy, wherever I go, I wear a mask because they would like me to wear a mask. I see some people in the grocery store out to Hy-Vee that I don't know, they'll wear a mask like they're proud of something. I don't know why, but
I guess I've always kind of looked at it if me wearing a mask will make you feel a little more comfortable or keep our elderly from being in the lockdown they just went through, I'll wear the mask.
yeah, I'll do it.
If I'm outside, I'm not going to wear a mask because that's definitely way too hot to be doing that. But if there's a bunch of us in a huge group, for my own safety and the safety of others, well, why chance it?
Well, COVID's been a really bad thing. I hate to compare it to a tornado or a flood, but come to think of it, if there was a tornado in town, God forbid, I'd go out and help people if I could. If there was a flood or something, I'd see if there was something I could do. And the least I can do in this circumstance is just put a mask. I don't like to. I wear glasses and it fogs up my glasses.
And stay out of the way of the first responders that are required to. So,
hey, I think Webster County and the state of Iowa as a whole has done a pretty good job. I mean, we had some nasty outbreaks down in the Cedar Rapids area where my son lives, and that was in some kind of care centers for elderly people. That's where I'm headed here shortly. You're right behind me, no, I don't have any problem with that. Really,
we're smooth with it. And we've really got no complaints on it. Even after we had lifted the mandate, we have people that still, well, are we going to? We've had people who still wanted it in place, but it's pretty obvious that the majority of the people weren't listening to what the mandate was anyway. So we'll have it out there.
There is a little bit of COVID fatigue,
Oh, definitely.
You have it, I have it. We're just sick and tired of this silliness, but it just won't go away, I guess. It's just going to do what it's going to do until we figure it out. All right. So Bob Thode's our guest, Supervisor Thode, 955-1400. If you have a question or comment for Supervisor Thode. We're heading into a season. I mentioned tornadoes. Don't like to talk about it, but we have to. Does the county, to your knowledge, have any awareness training, tornado awareness training scheduled? Usually we get a lot of them. Usually we get some tornado scares at this time of year, May and June.
I think we were going to have one last year. Of course, COVID kind of canceled that
Killed
out.
that one, yeah.
Dylan Hagan, who is our emergency management person, he does a really super good job. And in fact, right at this moment, he's in the process of setting up a training for out at the OHV park, which he's also involved, life flight and everything else. So, I mean, he really gets real gung-ho on his training. So I'm sure that they've got one. And I think Sheriff Fleener's got one for the courthouse for just about everything from a tornado warning to active shooter to that. He's very, very good at that. So he'll be getting one of those trainings set up for the people there too. So,
Okay.
but he also goes out to the school districts and deals with them. He's very, very knowledgeable. And he taught the Detroit Police Department, the Houston Police Department. He's
Who did,
New
Dylan?
Orleans. No.
Luke?
Luke.
He did.
Yeah, he was part of that group that went down and was teaching
Wow.
active shooter those departments. So
Luke's big time.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
he is absolutely not a shoe clerk, that's for sure.
Well, I thought he got off work and went out and rode his horse out there by Dayton.
You can still run an active shooter training on a horse.
See, there's my narrow thinking once again,
There you
Bob. Thank
go.
you for broadening my horizon.
We try.
Well, I'll call up Luke and Dylan Hagan and see if I can get them on the air here, because that's I learned to respect tornadoes. You know, I was in a couple, and it's easy to get nonchalant about those things. Oh, another whistle, another warning, big deal, Then it hits,
Yeah, a lot of people, instead of going to the basement, go outside to say, where's it at?
That's exactly what we do in Iowa. I do it every
That's an
single
Iowa
time.
thing.
Oh, here it is, across the street.
Oh, wait, now we've got cell phones. We've got to record it all first. Yeah, it's only at the end of the block, but keep that phone out there.
I think you've got us pegged here, Bob. That's exactly the
Yeah,
situation.
then you'll be on YouTube. You can sit there and hopefully some of the folks who do that can watch their language just a little bit better than some of the ones that we've heard on there before. It's like, man, what a potty mouth.
Yeah.
It's a tornado.
Well, we can't have self-discipline,
No,
we
well,
can't have any
Why start now?
decorum.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can't have decorum. We just need to scream a lot.
for sure.
Anyway, Luke was a good choice for sheriff for all of us. I'm not saying anything against the people who ran against him.
No,
They're good. They're good
We've
men.
got all good people that ran last year.
Yes.
They're very good people. Luke's in there, and he's proven himself so far, and we're real happy with the job performance he's
Sure.
doing. Of course, he kind of stumbled into a mess because with COVID, and all of a sudden we've got our jails are a little over full, and then we're shipping people out, and that bill is very large for a month's rent to send some of our prisoners off to other jails. So
Why are we doing that? Has there been an uptick in crime or something, or what?
nobody could get into the court systems. Court
Nobody
system
could
were
get there.
completely shut down there.
So the people who are in jail just had to sit there.
A lot of them, yes.
No, that's unfortunate. That's
Yeah. And some of them had some pretty serious charges on them, but we just could not get them into the system. Well, it's been a year, and they're finally rolling to get some of them taken care of. And I'm sure we'll probably see some plea deals that nobody will ever agree with. But I think to try to get our jails emptied out, I think the month of March was over $30,000 we spent on housing on prisoners, putting them elsewhere. And that's
Really?
because our jail was completely full, maybe even a little bit over.
Yeah. Wow. I
Yeah,
didn't know
so, and the county attorney's office is really busting their hump to try to get those into the system and that. So they're working on it. They're trying.
where do you guys send them? I mean, if they can't.
Whoever's got an open bed. They've been Marshall County, Hamilton, just wherever they have to haul them to.
I was going to say a lot of the littler towns don't have jails at all. I mean, they depend on the
Marshall
county.
A lot of the counties have their own, but it depends on whether or not who they've got them at the time. And then it was even harder to get them in some of these locations because nobody wanted to take a chance on getting COVID in their jail. So there we're kind of stacking them up there for a little while until we can get them moved on.
Oh man, yeah, that COVID really threw a wrench into things.
It made a mess of things, that's for sure.
Did you have a COVID outbreak over at the courthouse or not?
I think we had a couple of people that ended up with it, but they took the immediate precautions and they
Stayed home
a
and
lot of them would stay home. A lot of them could work from home. They sent their computers with them, so they stayed on top of it pretty good.
we got a guy here, Jay Thomas. Jay's in a wheelchair. He hasn't been in this building since last year sometime. And he works from home.
Mm-hmm.
He's on the air over at KKZ. It's the miracle of modern technology. You can get on his computer and be on KKZ.
You mean the real radio station?
No,
Huh?
oh, really? There are musical groups over there whose names you can't pronounce.
Probably wouldn't try unless it was the Guess Who or
Right? Guess who? Or the hey, Barry
Grassroots.
Yeah, Grassroots. Now you're hitting them all, boy. How about Paul Revere and the Raiders?
They were in Fort Dodge once.
Were they?
Yeah.
I think way back they were. Yeah.
Well, we're talking way back. Did you forget how old we are?
No, I haven't.
Some of those people don't even exist anymore.
No, I don't think so. I think Paul Revere did die, as a matter of fact. Not the one back in the American Revolution, but the Paul Revere that was in the band. Yeah, I think he died of old age. I mean, he was a much older man, like late 70s, maybe early 80s or something.
You know, another person we should probably get on the radio too is Jeff Johnson, our planning and zoning guy. You better write his name down there.
I better write his name down there.
You might want to talk to him about the solar farm and all that kind of stuff. Don't let him off the hook.
I'm not going to let him off the hook.
No, I wouldn't.
I should get Angie over here too, as far as that matter. You know, I just got out of the habit of doing this stuff.
Yeah, Angie's been a little bit busy, so cut her a little slack for a couple of weeks
Why
before
has she been? Tax time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll just give her a heads up that whenever she gets through the heavy period, she can go on over. I think she likes being on the air.
Oh, yeah. She likes to hear herself talk.
Well, that's something that a lot of people in government like to do, and certainly I should have been in government.
Boy, you don't think you'd last very long, do you?
In government?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Probably not. No. Well,
You gotta remember, it's an elected position.
I know.
So about the time they listen to you for a little bit, oh, no.
I was going to run for a seat on the school board. This was many years ago. This back in the 80s.
I'm only 63 years old. So
I know.
I don't remember it.
I know. Well, I don't remember the 70s because I was drunk all the time, but that's another whole story. But there was something going on at the school board, and I thought, well, this is a position that pays no money. Nobody wants it anyway. So maybe I should run. But I talked to a couple of people, and they said, yeah, we're not going to support you. So I went, all right. And these were my friends.
So you have this job and have friends too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you, Bob, there's usually an effort to get me fired. And there was a petition last fall to get me fired. It didn't go anywhere. Now, recently, I've apparently said or done something that the woke culture here in Fort Dodge is offended by. You can't let that stuff bother you. You just can't. I mean, you guys in public office, you take a lot of crap. You can't take it home with you, right? Huh?
No, and overall, we've been pretty fortunate over most of everything that's been going on over there at the courthouse. So,
have you?
Yeah, everybody's been real smooth with us, so it's been good.
Okay. Well, hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Run for supervisor, not city council. City council people make about $4,800 a year. You were never on the council.
Oh heavens! How long do you think that would last?
Well, 2 years. I don't think they'd run you out of town on rail. You're too big.
Well, that's why it would be a rail.
That's right. Bob, we're just about out of time, as they used to say on television. Do you have a burning desire or anything we ought to know?
Oh, Carol Mesley stopped in yesterday right after our supervisors meeting.
Carol.
Yeah, it was good seeing her. And not that I'm advertising for them, but the Noon Lions have got their annual steak fry next Thursday. So,
Well, you got a ticket on you?
yeah.
All right. Good. All right. Thank you. $15. Okay.
That's not, she can come and sell you, that's my ticket. But
Oh.
you're gonna steal my ticket?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just let you know that we got our steak fry going on.
The Fort Dodge Noon Lions annual steak fry dinner will be held Thursday, May 20th from 5 to 9, to be held at the Lions Den, 731 Exposition Drive, Fort Dodge, Iowa. The ticket cost $15. To-go orders are welcomed, and social distancing implemented for dine-in. There we go. There's some free advertising.
Well, there you go.
And
And that's a good club, so
Noon Lions.
Noon Lions.
Okay. All right. How long you been a member?
I've never been a member. It's when you work the night shift as long as I did, how can you get to some of those?
Oh, you were the
meetings?
overnight supervisor there for a while, weren't
You
you?
know, almost forever, I think. I must have won a popularity contest
I was gonna
over at
say,
City Hall when that happened. Huh?
Speaking of not having any friends, if you stay in the
For
overnight.
sure.
Hey, thanks for coming, Bob.
No problem. Thank you.
Bob Toad's been our guest. This is AM 1400 KBFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Fun intervention is online at yourportdodge.com, on Twitter at
Said a whole lot of nothing.
No, we really didn't cover much ground.
Last year we
Now with the COVID, there wasn't a hell of a lot to really talk about. So
is that interest rates are
Well, I could have been better prepared too. That might have helped.
only going to continue.
Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and we're waiting on Rob Jones, our news and sports director. For some reason, Rob generously sends me a recorded local sports report. Here he is right here. Here's Rob Jones. Today, Rob and I had trouble with it. I don't know what the heck is going on over there. It's muffled on my end. On Rob's side, it's coming through loud and clear. So I'm about ready to tear what's left of my hair out with this technology sometimes anyway, you know. So I still don't have my Facebook thing straightened out there, and my Yahoo account is hacked. So I'm just ready to throw the whole thing out in the front yard, Rob.
I think we've got some operator error going on.
That could be too. Before you got here, some people your age and younger, my coworkers, very unkind, very unkind.
Would you like to name names?
Well, I can do that, but Kurt was one of them, I think, and Jay. But and there were a couple others who were here at the time, and we'd all be in the jock pit there. The jock pit is a place where all the jocks have desks, and we congregate in there.
Right.
And I'm at my desk, and every now and then there would be some of these young, unappreciative people over in the corner, much younger over in the corner, and they'd be talking about some tech screw up, or there was a problem in the building as far as social media or whatever the heck. And they would say solemnly, somebody would finally say solemnly, "Why don't we ask Mike?" And there would be a pause, and everybody break out in laughter. They were they were very mean-spirited, Rob, and lacked understanding of the elderly personality.
They probably also knew that you probably were the last guy who was going to be available. Too.
There was not a chance I could help him. Here's the extent of my knowledge. If I have a problem, I reboot. After that, I'm gone.
A reboot, there's a lot of power in that, though.
Well, it fixes a lot of problems. It doesn't fix every problem, but I have found that it helps.
Yeah, and I don't know what the deal was with the whole thing, because my news files were fine. Everything came out fine.
Sure.
Everything on my end was fine. So I don't know what the issue was with that file, but we'll just do it the old-fashioned way.
There you go.
On the radio here this afternoon.
So you're of the opinion too that if you have a problem, you don't ask Mike, huh?
I'm of the opinion that if I've got a problem, I probably need to figure it out.
There you go, buddy.
I may be here in a situation where it's not anybody else in the building. That happens quite a bit.
Surely.
So I'll try to figure it out, and if I can't figure it out, I'll work around it 90% of the time.
You know, Nevin Mulholland and Randy Kuhlman are going to be in here on Friday at 4 to talk sports.
Okay.
You're certainly invited, but I have a feeling you'll be tied up somewhere on Friday, late on Friday.
Very possible.
But
we'll see.
I'm just throwing that out there. You know, you don't have to come or anything like that. But unfortunately, the three of us start talking about college and pro sports more than we should. And we don't talk enough about local sports.
Okay.
You're the local sports guy, if there ever was one.
Right.
So what's going on with our track teams, softball teams, baseball?
Yeah, for sure. Of course, baseball and softball is going to start the week of Memorial Day. So we're going to have coverage starting on Monday, May 24th. We are going to be back in action for baseball and softball season. We're going to have Fort Dodge Dodger baseball, Fort Dodge softball. We're going to have St. Edmund baseball and softball all throughout the summer, starting on May 24th, and that's going to be on our sibling station, Sunny 99.7. You can also hear that on yourfortdodge.com if you're out of the listening area or something like that. But we're going to start on Monday, May 24th with a doubleheader. With Fort Dodge softball is going to be in action over at Rogers Park opening the season. So we're going to start with that. And I thought that was a good starting point considering their state runner-up finish last year. And they have 8 of the 9 normal starters back this year. So going to probably be preseason number 1, and we're going to start with that. And then we're going to work our way through. We'll have Fort Dodge baseball on throughout the year, and we'll have St. Edmund baseball, who I think has a good shot at being very good this year. I think this is going to be a possibility that St. Edmund in baseball is as good as they've been in quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Salat's a solid veteran coach, and he's got some guys there that can throw the ball, some pitchers. Colasia being one, Peyton Scott being another. With a 1-2 punch like that, you know, they can be dangerous, especially when you get in playoff time with that. So I think they've got a shot at a good season this year. John Nimmers, who's the son of Jeff Nimmers, the
Sure.
clerk here. John Nimmers should be back behind the plate for them. And John was just a freshman last year, showed some real flashes of being able to really drive the ball. And I think he's going to probably grow into more of that as a sophomore this year. Fort Dodge baseball, Coach Blake Utley's replacing some guys, but he got a little bit of a gift this year. He got Christian Davidson, who was an all-stater at Pocahontas area, whose dad happens to be an administrator in the district here. So Christian made the transfer over. He's actually running track right now, and he's going to be pitching for Blake Utley, I imagine, this summer. There, he's an all-state pitcher, or was at Pocahontas area. So, when you lose some guys and you pick up an all-stater, you're in pretty good.
You're doing
shape.
all right,
You're
huh?
doing okay. And St. Edmund softball had a last year where they came on at the end of the season last year, with one game away from the state tournament, and has a lot of pieces back from that team. And I expect that they'll be a tough out too. So this could be kind of one of those summers where a lot comes together for the local teams here, and we have a really exciting summer as we get into July and get into the postseason and that kind of thing. A lot to be kind of mindful of and to be excited about, I think.
Well, you and Nevin and Randy, you probably like basketball or football better than baseball, but not me. I probably told you that before. I'm a baseball guy all the way. And so I look forward to this time of year. And I'll tell you, again, some time has gone by, but I remember girls softball when I was young. Wasn't that big a deal. Now those girls are pros. Jeez, they throw a fastball.
Yeah.
Hit it.
The game's evolved.
Oh, man, has it ever. Those young girls are, oh, man, they're athletes. They are.
Yeah, and the team, with Fort Dodge and St. Edmund both, St. Edmund's a quality squad, but, Fort Dodge has been good for a long time. They're going to be really good again this year. They're going to be probably the preseason number one. They're going to be the favorite to probably win the state championship, and went to the state finals last year for the first time in school history or program history. So they made history. They're looking to build on it. They've got players. And the thing I like about them is, like, they are so driven. That loss in the state finals last year really is driving them, and they're hard workers. I mean, those kids, anytime they get a chance to put some work in, Mike, that's what they're going to do. And you look around, you see this spring, they've all been playing in these travel tournaments and stuff this spring to get ready for this summer. And when your varsity team can go and compete in these big travel tournaments around and win them, you've got a pretty doggone good varsity team.
Yes, sir.
And so I expect that to come to fruition, and we'll see if they're able to get the one step they hadn't been able to get, and that's that big gold trophy at the end of the season.
Well, that's that would be great. That would be great. We've had some great girls teams, especially. I've kind of got into the girls a little bit more the last few years, because I'm just amazed at what they can do now. They're trained athletes. It looks like they may even have a little weight training at time. They're instantly recognizable as attractive young women, but they probably do have some, and I'm guessing they probably have some sort of weight training to be out for track and field and baseball, softball, and all those things.
Yeah, and you can tell some of them are in the weight room and lifting. Like, you can tell it shows at times, and as years have progressed. This will be now my third summer here, so I could kind of.
You bet, is that right?
I have, man.
Man alive!
Yeah, I got here in June of 2019, so my 2-year anniversary is coming up in a few weeks here, and so when I got here, I just kind of hit the ground running. With,
you did
summer baseball and softball, and so this will be my third time through, and I've seen a lot of these kids now come up as. They were freshmen or maybe 8th graders when I saw them the first year, and now I'm seeing them a couple of years later, and they've bulked up and they've grown up and they've matured, and you could tell the difference there, and it translates on the field.
Yeah. Rob, I remember when you started and I met you, and you were an instantly likable guy, that's for sure. But I was thinking to myself, this guy's from South Carolina. He ain't never going to last a whole winter here. Hell, I grew up here, and I don't want to live through the winters that we have here.
I remember my first week here, and I don't remember the guest you had on, but I had done a news report, and you brought a guest on, and your guest said, "When did Alpha Media move to Georgia?" I still remember that.
Well, you caused a little bit of stir in town and in the area because you did talk South, but people started to like your engaging presentation, and I think you have kind of a fan base out there now.
Well,
and you bring some to your you use expressions when you're calling a softball game that are used in the South. They're not necessarily used up here.
Yeah,
but
Southern euphemisms.
Southern,
sure.
well, and they work. They work just fine. We just don't hear them every day. So again, I think you've got your own fan base out there. Buddy.
And if you wanted euphemisms, you should hear my dad talk. That's all he talks in. Like it's almost like he has his own, and he has his own words for things that the rest of the world doesn't use. You have to give it time and figure it out.
Yeah, I know that, and I want to do this. I want you to call your dad and tell him to call a radio station one of these days when you and I are over here.
Okay.
Is he a sports guy or no?
Oh yeah.
Oh well, good. Well,
yeah. And everybody's terrible. Everybody's terrible.
What's his favorite sport out there?
He's a baseball guy too. He grew up as his favorite player was Mickey Mantle, actually.
Sure.
Because when my dad grew up in South Carolina, there was no Atlanta Braves at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he likes the Braves now. He watches the Braves a lot. He still likes the Yankees from when he was a kid, so he watches them a lot. He'll watch pretty much anything. I mean, if there's nothing on, my dad will watch like women's golf too. Like he'll watch any sport. Like he's like that. So I would say baseball is probably his favorite, then probably football. And he likes basketball too. Like I really got it honest because I can't remember a time ever where there wasn't something like that on in our house.
You do that, I'll get him talking about Major League Baseball's decision to move the All-Star game out of Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. We won't need a dump button because he may say some things that are controversial.
We might. What do you think I do over here?
It's true. That is what you do. But I think if you got that market like corner, like you didn't need any help with it.
If he's good and I can relate to him like I can relate to you, hell, I'll have him on regularly.
Well, he might actually do that because he's retired now.
Well, why wouldn't he have a little something to do? I'd send him a recording of it every week of what we did that time, and
he'd have to get my mom to punch it up so he could listen to it.
Yeah,
my dad himself has probably never even been on the internet on his own.
Really?
Yeah. Doesn't do internet, doesn't do anything. Like his cell phone is one of the flip phone prepaid deals, and he only carries it when he's out of the house in case he, has an issue on the road, and that's it. Like he's still very, very primitive. He likes it that way, and he's going to stay that way as long as possible.
Sure. That's why not? It's his life. He can do with it what he wants.
Yeah, when he needs to sign up for something online, he'll either get me to do it or he'll get my mom to sign up for him.
What's your dad's name?
Richard.
Oh, well, that's a pretty straightforward name. I was hoping of some southern name like Otis.
Clevis.
Clevis or Beauregard. now we'd be talking.
No.
Clevis.
No, but he's definitely like in a mold of his own, man. Like he's and he'll be the first one to tell you, like he doesn't pull no punches about how he feels a guy performs. We were just talking about Ronald Acuna from the Braves, and of course he just now went out. He's injured now.
But Acuna's a top player.
He's great.
Yeah.
And my dad, he loves Acuna, so he'll talk positive about Acuna. But he likes to basically just give everybody else down the road. But I don't know if you saw where Acuna got hit with the pitch on the hand the other day. Yeah, the Phillies.
I did see that.
Yeah.
It seemed intentional too.
Yeah, I think so. And so he's going to be out for a little bit. So that hurts. Right? I saw actually on the sports report that we couldn't get to play today. I talked a little bit about the Cubs. The Cubs, as of yesterday, one game below 500 and in third place behind the Cardinals and the Brewers in the Central.
Behind the Cardinals. Oh, God, I hate
On
that.
the flip side of that, the White Sox are first in the American League Central.
Sure.
Right now. So
I never really followed the White Sox much. I never did. It was usually, for whatever reason, I focused on the Cubs in the National League. I thought when I was a kid, even though most kids my age, and you go back to the early '60s when I actually was a kid, we were Yankee fans. Mantle and Maris and Whitey Ford.
About the only game on TV.
They usually were. Yeah, and we'd have Dizzy Dean or somebody like Dizzy was great. He was from Arkansas. He slugged into third base there, Pee Wee. And he invented words as he went along. But it was usually the Yankees. It was usually the Yankees, and so we were all Yankee fans. Even Nevin, who's a huge Chicago Cub fan, but of course, I don't know. I started out knowing where I was going with this, but I don't remember. Anyway, other than the Yankees, I thought the National League back then was a more exciting game. You had Ernie Banks, you had Maury Wills, stealing bases right and left. And the Cubs.
Lou Brock, I guess, a few years later after that.
Oh God, see that? Don't never say Lou Brock to a Cub fan. We had him in Chicago there for a couple of years, and he looked like a great talent. And they traded him to the Cardinals. Make things worse for Ernie Broglio, whose arm was shot. He had a couple of good years. He won 25, 26 games, but the Cardinals knew his name. His arm was shot. He hurt it, and they traded him to the Cubs for a Hall of Famer. So that was a painful name to even bring up. Cubs fans.
I'm sorry.
I'm over it.
No, you're not over it. That was like 50 years ago, and you still remember it.
But Ernie Broglio is deceased now, and I believe. Is Lou Brock still alive? I don't know.
I'd have to look that up. I don't know. For me, I grew up in Braves country, so I kind of grew up as a Braves fan, especially as I was kind of getting into sports. They went from terrible to really good when they got Glavine, Smoltz, and Maddox and all those guys.
I learned a lot from Bobby Cox at the time. He was always saying, good pitching will beat good hitting, and then he went right out there and proved it. Because he had the big three, and they were a terror, man.
But couldn't win but one World Series.
And they seemed to choke.
Yeah.
Frankly, I thought there was a little choke.
I'll never forgive him for losing to the Twins because I was like 9 years old. And I remember this plain as day. They were up 3-2 in the series against the Twins. And their fourth or fifth starter at that time was Charlie Lebrand, a soft tossing lefty.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to bring Charlie Lebrand in like the 10th inning with the game tied. And I'm sitting there as like a kid and knowing this is not going to end well with Charlie Lebrand.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was a decent starter, but I just knew. And Kirby Puckett was up, and I just knew Kirby Puckett's fixing to hit one over the fence and tie the series and end this game, and then it's going to go to Game 7 tomorrow in Minnesota, and they're going to lose. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, as soon as it left Charlie Lebrand's hand, the sinker he was throwing didn't sink, and Kirby Puckett killed it.
He killed it.
That was it. So,
by the way, I am sorry to report that Lou Brock did pass away just in September of last year.
Oh, wow.
He died of multiple myeloma, and of course he had diabetes as well, but he lived a long and full life. He was a minister in his church and a Hall of Fame baseball player, and was married to the same woman for years and years and years. So my hats off to him.
While I'm here, I do want to mention Iowa Central softball. They did end their season. Iowa Central baseball plays in the regional tournament tomorrow, but I want to shout out for Iowa Central softball. Logan Snetzer is a former Fort Dodge All-State performer. As a freshman this year, Mike, Logan set the single-season home run record at Iowa Central and the single-season RBI record for Iowa Central softball.
I don't suppose I'm lucky enough that tournament's in town.
No, I think I want to say it's in Cedar Rapids. I can't.
Down there. Well, maybe I should go down and visit my boys down there.
I could look it up for you for sure, but yeah, I know it's.
I can go to the Iowa Central website. That I can do.
Oh, that you can do.
Boy, I'm uptown now. I go there. Rob Jones, always great to talk sports with you, and appreciate it. Please come in every time, anytime. Talk to your dad. I'd love to meet him at least on the phone.
Okay.
All right.
See what we can do.
Yeah, all right. That's good enough. All right. It's 5 o'clock. Thank you for listening, friends. This is KVFT 4. Yeah. I used to. I used to talk with a guy by the name of Big Ed. In fact,
Yeah, from Georgia.
Big Ed from Georgia. Yeah. He actually was born here, but he moved down to Georgia in the late 60s.
Yeah, because he never did really sound like a guy from Georgia. Like
Well, he tried to. He tried to. But anyway, he was such a Trump guy. Oh, man. He was just, and he just, when you talk about your Democrats, communists, and atheists, yeah, you always start out Democrats, communists, and atheists. Well, they're all really the same thing, He was great radio,
Chinese sympathizer.
Yeah, Chinese. Oh, yeah, I had him on the air with me one time when Nevin was in here. And, of course, Nevin's kind of a pretty straight Democrat. And he's Nevin didn't know what to make of him at the time. But
Nevin strikes me as the old-style Democrat, like the Clinton type Democrat. Which those pretty much are dinosaurs now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Nevin, I made a mistake and brought up because it bugged me that they moved the game out of the All-Star game out of Atlanta. And so I brought it up. What's your opinion? And man, he took off. Those are racist voting laws are racist. We're going to break now.
I don't get that argument.
I don't.
You can't buy a pack of cigarettes without an ID, but you can vote for the president.
Mm.
Like, to me, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, when they started talking about dead people were voting last election, I kind of felt like this whole thing is to move it that direction where they can manipulate the election, because I kind of felt that way from last year, this last election, and then you do this, like, why do you not need an ID? I don't know anybody that doesn't have an ID. Black, white, brown, like, I don't know anybody who does. I'm sure there are some illegal immigrants that don't, but they shouldn't be voting anyway.
No, I mean, every year there's some minor voting problem. It's they caught a couple of hundred illegal immigrants. And this would be back in probably 20 years ago. They caught a couple of hundred immigrants that voted illegally, illegal immigrants. A couple, in Los Angeles, in a Los Angeles election where there are hundreds of thousands of votes cast, I'm thinking to myself, what fucking difference?
Yeah.
And
how did you figure out who was illegal and who wasn't in Los Angeles?
Yeah. Good point. You've been to Los Angeles, Linda? Last time I was there, it was a Mexican city.
A friend of mine, and he's Dominican, he was like, dude, I thought I was in Mexico.
Well, everybody's got to live like this.
It's all good, man, but like, I don't see how that is a racist law. I think that's just a common sense law.
They just wanted to pick on Georgia because it's a southern state. Frankly, it's a southern state, and they can make a big deal out of it. The Democrats are trying to think they could flip Georgia from red to blue, and I think they've already pretty much.
Well, they did it in the presidential election.
Yeah, they did in the presidential election. They elected 2 Democratic states U.S. senators.
Yeah.
Because of Trump. Trump's a dumb shit, if you ask me.
Well, and pretty much like Atlanta and Savannah and some of those places will pull the Democrat vote, and they're so populated that if you get enough of that, you'll win that state. You're not going to get the rest of the state. You're not going to get Rayburn County and places like that. I can promise you, but it don't matter because nobody lives out there.
Hey,
Rayburn County, Hart County, all those places that were close to where I live, like, ain't enough people lives out there for that to matter.
What kind of farming they do in South Carolina?
Primarily they do tobacco farming.
Tobacco still?
Yeah, they do tobacco farming down there. Peaches, because that's the peach belt, Georgia and South Carolina and all that. Peaches are big. Tobacco, they grow a little corn, not like Iowa, but they grow some corn. They grow soybeans down there too, like a little bit of everything. But
they got a lot of livestock or not?
Certain places, not like here with pigs, and certainly not like Oklahoma with cows.
Well, pigs outnumber human beings 10 to 1, you know,
in certain places. And so cows do that in western Oklahoma too.
Mm-hmm.
They stretch as a western Oklahoma. You'll be going down the highway, and all you'll see is wind turbines and cows. All you'll see, like for miles, and then you'll finally see something else. Like it's crazy, man.
I used to, when I was truck driving years ago, I used to go to Georgia to get peaches, a whole load of peaches.
Oh, okay.
And I'd always tell the guys that were lumping for me, and they were loading the truck for me, if I could get a few peaches up front. Hell, they give me keys. You know, oh, here, take it. Go on now. So God, those were great peaches.
Yeah,
they just
really
been picked like yesterday.
Yeah. And here's the thing: like everybody equates peaches to Georgia. South Carolina actually grows more peaches than Georgia does.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Especially down like kind of where I'm from, and then on down in like Spartanburg County, where Zion Williamson's from, and Gaffney in that area. When you go to Gaffney, South Carolina, you can see it. You can see you coming up on it from the interstate because it's this great big old peach right there when you first see it from the interstate, the exit. So yeah, it's like, and that's a landmark because you can be like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna be in Gaffney, just meet me at the peach. Like everybody knows where that is, you know. So they grow a lot of peaches there. My uncle actually has some land that he rents out to a peach grower, bottom land that he rents out for that. So yeah, they grow a lot of that there.
I didn't talk about Trevor Lawrence today because I always talk about Trevor Lawrence when I'm talking with you. But I'm kind of a fan of him.
You are.
He beat Alabama when he was a freshman in the Big Bowl. I think that, boy, he's in for trouble in the NFL. Everybody wants a piece of him.
They're going to have to build around
He's not from South Carolina. Isn't he from California?
He's from Georgia.
He is from Georgia?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's from not Atlanta, but kind of that area.
Okay.
Like an hour from, I want to say Loganville or somewhere like that. The real high-level high school football out there.
Well, Georgia let him get away. I wonder how he got away from.
You know, Clemson gets a lot of Georgia players, man. They really do. Like most of their roster, or I don't know if most, but a good portion of their roster is Georgia guys. Because, I mean, you got to think, you're only 2 hours from Atlanta, and if you live north of Atlanta, you're even closer than that. So they go into Georgia and get a lot of players. You know, them and Georgia a lot of times will battle over like the top guys. I remember hearing about him come to Clemson's like summer camp when he was like 14, and I figured, and I know he's a big Christian too, and Dabo is big into that. So
is he really?
Oh, big into that. So,
didn't know that.
Yeah, so a lot of guys will come play. I mean, it's so big with Dabo that some people down there are convinced that God is a Clemson fan. But they really are. Like, I've heard them have these conversations on the radio down there.
You know, for some reason, I've never been a big Dabo fan. I mean, I've respected what he's done. His accomplishments speak for themselves, but never been a big Dabo fan. But
he was kind of obnoxious for the first part. It was like he was like that 10-year-old kid with ADD who just can't sit still. That's kind of how he was.
That's what it was. Yeah.
That's kind of how he was. So he was kind of obnoxious. And then finally I guess he settled kind of into the role a little bit. But back when he was the 10-year-old kid with ADD, like his post-game press conferences were golden. Like he would, they stick a microphone in his face, and like I remember one time, like they beat somebody, it was a big deal, and and it was at home, and he's like, you know, because he's like, this place, Clemson, South Carolina, this city, it's a city on the hill, and we wear purple because purple is royalty and God and Clemson and faith and family, and right here, and we beat them, and we did it right here in Death Valley, South Carolina. My God.
See, I love that.
Yeah, he's nuts. Like you probably go on YouTube and see all kinds of like stuff of him going nuts. Like when he first started. Now he's calmed down a lot. Spurrier took a shot at him when he was the coach at South Carolina, and Dabo went off. He's like, they put one school in South Carolina, and that's Clemson. Blah 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 blah. Like he went off. Like they caught him right at the right time too, because back then, like the media figured out, like catch this guy in an emotional time because he can't hold himself. Like he just goes. Like,
good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, so it was it was interesting the first few years. Like it was weird because it like for me I was like he's a little bit annoying, but I don't know what he's gonna say next, and he's gonna do it on live television probably. So I got a chance to see something maybe unfold. So I always like that part of it. I tell you one of the guys I really like is Ed Orgeron from LSU.
There's
I
another
love
one.
that guy, man. Like he's another one that he just says whatever's out there. Like I watched a YouTube video. He was walking through the stadium, but they're doing, you know how they do like a walk when they walk the football team in.